All right, everybody, good evening. I want to go ahead and put a cap on the video that I posted a few hours ago. Want to go ahead and do the second part of that video, looking at some of these offensive linemen, these offensive tackles. And in the first video, we did the guys who are currently first round projections approximately. So this video, I'm going to take a look at the guys who are currently projected as second rounders, which, I mean, you're still talking about some pretty choice cuts of meat at that point. You're still talking about some pretty good players. So this is still going to be very interesting. And again, while left tackle may be relatively solid right now in Seattle world, right tackle is not. So let's understand that we may be in the market for a starting caliber tackle this offseason. So let's go ahead and just jump right in here. We're going to go past the top three guys because we already talked about them. So looking at the next four, this is like the next tier. Oh, excuse me. We have four guys. Going to start with Josh Conerly Jr., the tackle out of Oregon. And he's had a relatively short career for Oregon so far. Really only one full year starting. He played a little bit in 2022, but he was basically a full-time starter in 2023. Played quite well. He's got something to prove this year for sure. There is some stuff that he needs to improve on, and overall the performance was, it fell a little bit short of special, but the potential here is clear, and I imagine that this year in Oregon's offense, which should continue to be very good, he'll have a chance to excel. Remember, that offense really protects you from giving up much of anything as long as you're competent. Like we saw with JPJ, if you know what's up, you're not going to give up much of anything because that offense is so good at getting the ball out and working on a script. So, Josh Conerly Jr., he's an elite athlete for the position. He is a phenomenal athlete. His movement skills, his agility, his just general ability to move at his size is remarkable. He's highly comfortable in space. He has plenty of experience playing in space. If you ask him to pull block, if you ask him to lead out into the second level to throw blocks on linebackers, he can do all that stuff. He's got long arms, uses his hands pretty well. So hard to get around, hard to get leverage on him, hard to beat him to the edge, basically. So he's got a lot of those skills that you're looking for in a pass protector. He's a guy who gives maximum effort at pretty much all times. His effort and his conditioning are considered to be among the best that you will find of any college tackle. His football IQ and his awareness are both superb. He has a really good understanding of where he needs to be, what's coming, and how he needs to react to it. His football IQ might actually be his greatest asset, and that's saying something given the fact that he's a good athlete. He's got a good mirror. He mirrors pass rushers on the edge very well. Good understanding of how to stay in front of them through their moves and counter moves. Some of the issues he has, they're kind of the similar to the issues that we usually see with young offensive linemen, quite honestly. He doesn't sink his hips to win leverage very well. He's somebody who will play a little bit too high, somebody who will expose his chest a little too much, and that leads to getting beat by players that you should be beating routinely. He has to get a little bit stronger. I think that bull rushers are going to be able to get the best of him at times. And he does have a penalty problem. He committed 8 penalties last year, including 3 in one game, the Texas Tech game. So there is a little bit of an issue here with penalties, but clearly a very good prospect who projects to have a very good season and be well on the right path in 2024 to being a top draft pick. Okay, so next guy I want to talk about is Tyler Booker of Alabama, and this one's going to be a little bit different because it's fairly clear to me that this guy's going to end up playing guard. Maybe he ends up at right tackle, but I don't even know if I see that. PFF lists him at 325. My understanding is he's more like 340. So I think he's an interior player. He's only played guard at Alabama, but when he went to Alabama, it was as a tackle. He was a 5-star recruit as a tackle and hasn't played tackle yet. Now, this year, could he end up playing some tackle? Yes, and if he does, we might have to reevaluate, but I feel like this guy's a guard. He played left guard full-time last year. The year before, he played a bunch of guard as well, and his results have been pretty good, and you look at his skill set, I do feel like it suits itself well to playing the guard spot. So, Tyler Booker, strengths, very strong in run blocking. He wins the rep initially very well. He's very good at coming out of his stance with a lot of power, really good at taking control of the rep quickly. He's very big. He's got long arms, so getting around him is a real challenge. You're not going to be able to get around him successfully. He's very physically dominant. He's another one of these guys that can just bully people and bury them in the ground. He's one of those guys who will have maybe the best highlight reel for any offensive lineman because he is just out there trying to end people. He's a good athlete for his size. He's capable in space. And I do want to stress, we're talking about a guy here who is bigger than these other guys we're talking about. My understanding is that he's 340. At 340, you're not going to be as good in space as some of these guys that are like 320. But for his size, you're getting good athleticism and good ability to play in space. He's really good against power rushers. You try to power rush him, he anchors down, and he just turns you away. So there are plenty of good things to like about Tyler Booker as long as you get it. Now, again, I want to stress, even though he went to Alabama as a tackle, he has only played guard in college. So you might not be getting a tackle here. If he gets to play tackle this year, I'm not sure what they're doing with him yet. We'll learn. But as of right now, I think the right way to look at him is future NFL guard. Over aggressive when engaging sometimes. He's another guy who will bend at the waist when making contact, which leaves him susceptible to counter moves. His lateral quickness is also lacking, and he gets beat by speed rushers, which is why I think a lot of people suspect he'll end up at guard. And look, there's nothing wrong with that. The Seahawks are likely to have a need at least one of their guard positions this offseason, but it needs to be understood what you're getting here. You're not necessarily getting a guy who can play on the edge reliably. And I think if you look at the way that he plays, it makes sense. Okay, so third guy in this video, Minnesota Golden Gopher, and I'm going to try my best here, Ersery. Ersery of Minnesota. That probably wasn't right, but I did my best. Been playing left tackle for Minnesota for a while now. This is actually going to be his 5th year. Now, his first 2 years, he barely played. He played a total of 76 snaps. Last 2 years, he's been a full-time player. It was only really last year that he broke out. It would seem his PFF grade was really good last year, really strong overall. Better run blocker than pass blocker, but good in both areas. And he became a guy who is now going to be heavily sought after in the draft. My notes on him are, the most interesting thing about Ersery would be he's a late bloomer. He didn't start playing football until late in high school. So this is not somebody who's been playing football for like 12 years and he's already maximized his understanding of the game. No, this is a guy who still doesn't totally get it because he just started. So this is something that I talked about a lot with a guy like Boye Mafe. When these guys didn't start playing football until late in their life, it means they have room to grow that most players their age would not because they're still learning the game in a way that somebody who has been playing since Pop Warner wouldn't. So that has to be very appealing to somebody who's drafting for potential. He's really hard to get around because he's so big and he's so long and he's so good at staying in front of crafty edge rushers. He's got a massive length advantage. He's got a very firm latch once he latches onto you, not letting go. He's got a lot of strength, very strong player. Gets out of his stance very quickly. Good understanding of how to do that. His lateral quickness is on point. And he possesses the athletic ability for zone blocking schemes while still being a nasty finisher and getting guys on the ground. So, really, really exciting prospect. Most of the things that need to be worked on are things that are understandable, I think, given the fact that he's relatively new to the game of football. He needs work on his hands. His hand technique is not great. The timing of his punches is not great. He's over-aggressive as well. He's another one of these guys who has a problem with bending at the waist. Power rushers can get to him a little bit, I think. A power rusher can blow through him. Needs to maybe work on the anchor a little bit, get a little bit more ability to anchor down with his legs. But this is actually a guy I would place a lot of value on, and this is a guy who I would flag as a likely riser for the 2024 for college football season. Like, this could be a guy who ends up in the first round because his potential is going to be off the charts because of that late bloomer thing that I talked about. All right, last guy for this video, last second round prospect as of this moment on the database would be Wyatt Milum of West Virginia, the West Virginia Mountaineers. Maybe he grew up watching Geno Smith when he was a little kid. I don't know. It's possible, but Wyatt Milum, currently ranked 63rd overall. Currently, or last year, I should say, he played left tackle. Mostly played left tackle for West Virginia. Built up a pretty good 3-year resume overall. Been graded out pretty well. Last year was a bit of a breakout year for him as a really good, really solid, really reliable tackle out there. Well-rounded in general. So, yeah, Wyatt Milum. One thing to note is that while he spent most of his time playing on the left side, he's also played some on the right side. I think 2021, he played right tackle. So you get Wyatt Milum, you might get a guy who can play on both sides effectively. He has good lateral footwork. He can hang with crafty edge rushers, no problem. He keeps balanced really well through his pass blocking sets where he's able to shuffle his feet and stay upright and keep everything in front of him that he needs to. So he's got a really good understanding of how to stay balanced there. He has strength and ferocity to excel as a run blocker as well. He's going to be able to push people around. He's got the willingness to want to finish the play. So the mentality is there. He's a really smart football player as well. Good understanding of how to pick up stunts, pick up blitzes, pick up twists. Understands where he needs to be and how to do it. He can handle playing in space fairly well. I don't think he's an elite zone fit, but he is a good one. So lots of versatility there. Again, the issues are the issues that I see with a lot of these players that are young offensive linemen. He plays too high with his hips, and he can be on the aggressive side at times. But those are things that can be fixed with good coaching. They might get fixed this year in college. All right, so that's all I got for the offensive tackles. Next couple videos will be offensive interior guys. See you guys later. Go Hawks.